I just went to the grocery store, to Sam's and Kroger, and I was sure I was going to have a $300 um, grocery bill at Sam's, and it turned out to be 200. And the reason why I believed it was going to be more is because I had gotten like a third to half of the stuff that I got was meat. Burgers, chicken, lamb, all this stuff. And the only thing I could imagine is, Jesus feeding the 5,000. And what had happened was that I process my own groceries, but this time I left it to somebody else, a teller. And I got out of there with $209 bill, and I was just like, whoa. And I had so much stuff. I even had stuff like collagen peptides, which I had read like increase the speed of healing and are like good for skin and bones and fingernails and stuff like that. So perfect for somebody who's a diabetic. What did I get? I got 2 of those little small packs of carb-friendly keto taco, what do they call them? Street taco sized tortillas. 2 packs of those. They were $5 a piece. I got some hummus in the little packages, and the reason why you want to get them in the little packages is because it dries so fast, and I don't usually use a whole hummus thing, so I use them in little packs a lot more efficiently. I got 2 bags of their string cheese, which is skim milk, and it's low fat. So you can eat, if you're a diabetic, in one meal, you can, or actually, I think this is either during the day or just one meal, you can have about 16 string cheeses in a sitting, and it will still be within reason for a meal. Got 2 pounds of strawberries for $4 from Sam's. They're selling cherries for 2 pounds for $10. And then I went to Kroger, and I thought that was a bit too much, and I went to Kroger, and it was $6 a pound. And so I was like, well, I could have gotten some cherries at Sam's, but still, that's way too much for cherries. My mom wanted me to go to Kroger and get some Bluebell ice cream, half gallon. And she was certain that Kroger would have it cheaper than Walmart, because at Walmart they were selling it for $10 per half gallon, which is crazy. Usually they sell it around $6 or $7. So they jumped up their price for some reason. And I went to Kroger, and it was $9.50. And I told her that, but there was a special deal on Breyers, buy one, get one free. And I was hoping that they would have the carb-friendly Breyers. They have a new one that's a mint chocolate chip type ice cream that's in the carb zone, the high carb or low carb ice creams. And their stuff is really good. It's even better whenever it's something that's beyond just solid flavor, And their mint is so good. I went in there, and it was completely out, and people had bought it all up. So I settled with the peanut butter and chocolate one. I get these 2-liter bottle little drink things, and it's peach mango green tea. And they come 5 2-quart packets to a box, and it's $2 per box. And that's kind of what I drink all the time these days. I don't drink Cokes or anything. I just have this 1-gallon jug full of that stuff, and I just chug it down, and it's sugar-free, and it tastes fantastic. It's really close to tasting like apple juice. And and so it tastes like apple juice. And if you really want to think about it, it probably just also smells, tastes like peach mango green tea. But to me, it tastes like apple juice. And so that I just chug that stuff down, and I just have this gallon container, and I fill it up with filtered water from the refrigerator, and I drink that stuff down. And let's see. I got a bunch of chicken nuggets for my stepfather who's having a problem swallowing stuff. And so I got the kids' style stuff because I figured it would have an even consistency. Because, people are are concerned about their kids being able to swallow stuff. And so I figured that would be the case. And so he has a problem with his, when people get older, they start having problems with their esophagus and their, and my dad actually died from, my real father actually died from a complication involving the esophagus. Basically, the esophagus was not sending the food down the correct path, and it was going into his lungs. So, I mean, the things that you think you're going to die from when you're in your old age, it could be something as simple as the esophagus. And in such cases, what they'll do, if you really want to, if your quality of life you think is still good enough, you'll probably get a tube stuck down your throat and something or something like that, to get the sustenance in. But most people don't, and that's kind of the end of the story right there. Got a bunch of salads. And I mean, we had a hard time stuffing the things into the refrigerator. We're at the point now where we can't really stick much of anything. And since the freezer decided to defrost on its own, we now have room to stick more stuff for the freezer. And so I got so much stuff, and it's not even worth going through. But the thing is I got through all of that without a crazy food bill. It was still $300 was the food bill. But it wasn't like $400 or something like that. These days, food bills are just crazy. And I don't have any problem splurging for something that I really want, like a T-bone steak or something like that. People who are on a budget, families that are on a budget, that kind of stuff is a real luxury item, and I understand that. It's a luxury item to me, but it's kind of like I'm already diabetic, and I probably don't have much time left, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, diabetics, once you're type 2, it's kind of a death sentence. So I figure, live it up, have a steak every now and then, have a nice pound of salmon. They got a special thing going with Sam's. They got these cut up freshwater salmons. It's coho salmon that's cut up into these 3-inch steaks. And it's like $9 a pound versus their complete salmons, which are like $9 to $10 a pound. And I've been going through and just getting that and not even bothering with the Atlantic or Pacific or whatever that stuffed salmon is. It's in saltwater. You'd rather have a freshwater salmon than to have something that's from a saltwater. That means that the salmon is grown in a lake. These days, they don't catch salmon; they farm it. So I mean, they don't catch it in the wild. They farm it. And it's probably the best way to do things, considering all of the contaminants that go into the water supplies and stuff like that. To be safe, best just to farm it. And we do it to our chickens. We stick them in coops and optimize all the. And people think it's evil what the food companies do to animals and things of that nature. And I admit it, it's pretty evil, but if you consider the population of people on the earth and just how much it's costing to have to make a living or to even pay for food, the they're having to come up with ways of optimizing things. And now that AI is in play, they might start replacing some of those people that work in the chicken farms, just barely making by. They'll replace them with AI robots that are taking care of the chickens, which sounds evil, but if you think about the AI having the capacity to work 24/7, tirelessly, looking after animals and having the full knowledge of being able to recognize, if animals are sick and stuff like that, it's a no-brainer. Um, yeah, the AI would be able to do things that a normal farmer wouldn't be able to do with that stuff. So I'm going to get around to the thing that I wanted to talk about, and that was this Udio. People are disputing it and all this AI stuff. The thing they don't understand is that with the AI stuff, you're essentially removing the source of the medium. You cannot determine the source of your medium. You can't determine the race, age, you can't religion, you can't determine any of that from the art that's being produced. And for that reason, if this is the first time in the history of music, aside from contracting somebody of a different race or whatever to do the music, there is no way for anybody to determine the source of the content, who it is. I mean, they can use an official artist's voice, and the source of it could be a 6-year-old black kid, you know, and nobody would ever know. And they'd be going crazy over this, and this little kid would be saying, I made that. I made that. And nobody would ever know that I made that. And so that's what Udio should be pushing as their ethics. Their ethics statement is that it's basically sterilizing the entire music industry, in such a way that the source of the music is coming from the people that want to listen to it. And it's karma's coming around, guys. It's coming around. It's going to slap you in the face. And it's been coming for a long time. There was a time whenever musicians and actors and movies and all this stuff had a real play in the control of people's minds through cleverly scripted stories and stuff like that. That stuff's going away. And what it's basically doing is it's taking the power, it's basically sterilizing, homogenizing the content in such a way that you can't figure out where it's coming from, who it's coming from. And people will just like things for what they are. They won't, they can still be presented a sexy body if they want to, but those sexy bodies are going to be something from a from an AI video source. They're basically, it's going to make it so that the people that are popular and sourced for content cannot be judged. Or if they're selling albums and they want to remain anonymous, they can, because they can start charging Bitcoin for their albums. And with Bitcoin, there is no telling who is the source of the content. They can Bitcoin it. They can use they can use those tangible tag things that are blockchain based. They can optimize that with the AI, have the AI manage it for you, because that's the major problem with Bitcoin, is it requires a PhD to figure out how the heck what to do with what. It would be so much better if you had a personal AI to do that for you, and for it not to be something you have to think about all the time, you know, or be concerned about, or, there's going to be a lot of great solutions that come out of this AI stuff. And, all the fear mongers, the people that are putting out the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, doubt stuff, those guys are doing that not really for you, but they're doing it for themselves. They're putting that stuff out because they know if they can get you watching their channel when they talk about all the awful stuff that's coming down the pipe, you're gonna be intent on watching their channel. They're gonna make bunches of money off of advertising, and so until you wise up and you figure out the value added benefit to having AI in the world, those guys are gonna keep shoveling shit into your water supply of information. Um, you know, you can look at my channel. I don't give a shit about my viewership. I mean, I'm not out there trying to tell people to one up me, or I'm going to make money off of advertisements. I hate advertisements. I fucking hate the advertising industry. I just pointed out a second ago that you don't even need to be a good advertiser to create brand awareness. All you have to do is take your brand, smack it on the tube for 3 seconds. The FCC is not going to penalize you for that. Just smack it on the tube for 3 seconds, 5 seconds. That's all you need in the way of advertisement. People are going to make the choice to buy items based upon recognition to affirmation. They're going to have that as a choice among other things. They're not going to remember a damn thing about your advertisement, about what your company's vision statement or any of that stuff is. They're going to be looking at all these items. Their brain's going to be completely empty because they're worrying about something like this, the AI or whatever. Cognition flies out the window. The only thing that's left is recognition, pattern recognition. So they're going to be looking at brands, and then they're going to be like, which one did I I recognize this brand. This must be good. And so they buy it. That's my unproven theory. There are people that say, oh, you can't say that's a theory because theory means it's already been proven, or something like that. And I say unproven theory because I still want to use theory, okay? But the people that often say that kind of crap are the humanist, evolutionist dildos that are trying to use science as a basis for their getting rid of all the religion and stuff. Saying all the religious people are completely nuts, and that our way is the way, and we're going to follow science and all that stuff. And they don't believe in belief systems. Their belief system is that we're wrong. So they got a belief system anyhow. They can't get away from religion. And even if you get rid of all the religion, you get rid of spirituality and gods and stuff like that, who are you going to turn to as the authority on your ethics? That person's going to become a god in themselves. You can't get away from it. The reason why is because you're human and you have a total lack of perception, of absolute perception. And because of that lack of absolute perception, you conceptualize information and you're stuck in the culture you're in. You're never going to be able to communicate things on a one-to-one, level basis of understanding. No matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you, okay, for some reason or another, and you can't get around it, and there's going to be wars. It's just, they're going to be for other things, and then you're going to look at what you're having wars on, and then you're going to wish you were back when wars were about religion, because they're going to be about evolutional theory and survival of the fittest, and the stuff that the Nazis were into, which was the Aryan race, genetic perfection, You're just you're just stirring up a different kind of trouble. And what's going to happen with that kind of stuff is there's not going to be any associated ethics with it. And so you'll be having a war over something that doesn't have any morality behind it. Now, the people that have wars over religion, that needs to stop. What they need to do is they need to stop getting into politics. They need to stop trying to control people. It's the control of people is where the evil starts. Whenever you start voting people in and stuff like that, you got to be passive as someone of a religion. If you're passive, then the people who are going to vote that are in the world may actually reference you as a choice of who to vote for, but it doesn't even matter, because if you believe in God, you believe God is going to pick the right person. And God can use bad people or good people. And the people that are pointing out to the Christians that all this stuff is hogwash, if you say anything is hogwash of anybody else, they're going to have no reason to listen to you whatsoever. You just lost your only playing card for being able to convince somebody of anything. And basically all these dildos over here, I call them dildos because they're basically masturbating to their own ideas, They're not really concerned about what other people think. They're more in their own world, and they're making it up as they go along, okay? And I mean, they're trusting science to come up with solutions, and it's just like with geology. You can trust the science of geology for dating rocks and stuff, and then 10 years down the road they find they can't rely on that for some other reason, and so you've just you've been set back 10 years because you were trusting in the scientists. And the thing is that even the scientists will tell you that this stuff is not trustworthy because it can fail for one reason or another. Things can fail. The physicists are all really into trying to simplify everything down to a simple formula. That's what they're all intent on. And the chemists would be your females, the males would be the physicists. And the physicists would be trying to get everything down to a phallical form. And the females who tend to see emotion as kind of a gray area that's kind of, you can't really tell it's one thing or another. Chemistry is like that because it's fluids and it's things, it's gases, and it's moving around each other, and it's more complex than using a laser. And so, as I told you, my dad was he started out as he started out as a physicist, and then he became a chemist. He adopted chemistry, and that was to and he combined the two. He combined lasers with gases, with chemicals and stuff to come up with solutions. And the reason why that happens with scientists in national laboratories in the government is the source of funding comes from people in the military. And the projects, you have no idea what the projects are that are going to come up that will have some sort of funding associated with it. And in order to get that stuff, you have to be willing to go out on a limb and adopt a different kind of science in order to get that funding and do that project. So you just end up with these scientists who have dabbled in everything and are no longer what they were whenever they got in through college, just having one degree. They could go back to college and apply for 2-3 more degrees. That's just what happens as a result of working in labs for the government or a research lab, is that you end up adopting other other fields. Or and it happens to everything. Everybody. My brother is a lawyer. He was a music major. He switched to lawyering because there wasn't any money in music. He went into music. He got a master's to become a teacher because he really liked his music teacher, and he saw himself in that position and saw all the fun that his music teacher was having. But then he determined that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be, and it was probably the case that our hometown was a special case because we had the highest number of PhDs per capita in Los Alamos, New Mexico, which is where I'm born. And my brother was one of the kids in Mr. Mac's music band, and Mr. Mac, Jan McDonald, knows people like Yo-Yo Ma, and all these famous musicians, and they bring him down. So he has more fun than music teachers anywhere else in the country because he's got this high density of scientists, of people with PhDs. And the funny thing is that they're so effective, and there's so much power in that city that the people of New Mexico determined that they would have an unnatural influence over the rest of the state. So they gerrymandered Los Alamos into 3 separate districts: Taos, Espanola, and I think it's Espanola, Pewaukee, and Santa Fe. They gerrymandered it between 3 different cities so that it would have no gerrymandering. For the rest of the people in the world, is what they do is they take your district or whatever, and they cut up it in 3 parts, and then they extend some other district so that you have no absolute so you have a fractional representation in 3 different districts than having one district with a complete representation of that district. And if you have representation, complete, it's PhDs and Caucasian white PhD people, they're going to win some elections in the state. And the state of New Mexico, as such for Los Alamos, tends to be super liberal. And so Los Alamos is highly conservative, lots of churches, which you wouldn't expect to be in a science town. That's the thing I'm saying is the evolutionists and the humanists and all those guys, they don't really know who they're following. And they may find out that the people that they think are on their side and are thinking the way they think about things as being scientific and logical is somehow going to get rid of God or something like that. They don't understand that those people in getting those degrees and things like that develop a understanding that they don't have the capacity to understand the unknown. And to keep from going crazy, they satisfy the stress associated with the unknown with something that they can live with. And I'm not saying that there aren't atheists in the town, and there aren't Wiccans. They do exist in Los Alamos. We do have a Wiccan community in Los Alamos. We got Quakers, and I'm sure we got some Satanists, but all Satanists are just masked humanists that want to piss off Christians so that they don't come to their church and start talking about sin and stuff like that. They want to do what they want to do. They want you off their back, and they have every right to do that. Even the Christians should respect it because God gives everybody free will. So the Satanists should have free will to be whatever they want to be, and do whatever they want to do, so long as they're not messing with anybody else. And Satanists are into things like voodoo. What they consider to be a sin is anything that would land you up in jail, or killing somebody. They're humanists, but if they have somebody that's wronging them, then they may not go out of their way to do something that's really bad to the person. They may pull out a voodoo doll and put a few pins in it, and that satisfies it for their minds because they'll figure, karma's going to come around and kick that guy's ass. And so, I don't believe that there really are Satan worshipers. There probably are, and the the thing that doesn't really make sense there um, is that Satan doesn't identify with humans. Because Satan, I mean, if you really are a Satan worshiper, you must understand that Satan doesn't identify with any human because humans are given the freedom of choice, which Satan was not given. Um, uh, Satan was an angel, and angels are designed to satisfy the will of God. If they make any choice outside of that, they're instantly thrown in hell. They're thrown away, and all hell means is that you're hidden from God. So basically, I'm pretty sure that it's even this way that God doesn't deal with Satan directly because God can't have Satan in His presence. So what Satan So what ends up being the case, I'm sure, is that God sends an angel to Satan and deals with Satan kind of like indirectly. Um, but the thing is that Satan is a unique being. God's a unique being. Angels are unique beings. Um, God identifies with us because we share God's spiritual image. But Satan doesn't. And Satan is jealous of the human race. So to be a Satan worshiper is basically to be a walking contradiction. And I mean, Satan's not going to award you damn shit. Satan might award you with the ability to do something that is needed, but it's likely that God's going through Satan to make use of Satan to make you do something, or, maybe you commit some horrible crime, you get thrown in jail, and that's some crazies right there that are in jail and you don't have to deal with it anymore. Because down the line, they probably could have caused something even more evil. So, I mean, but the thing is, the Christians need to know that if you're in the world and you're of the world, then you're going to be doing the things the world does. You're going to be dealing with things the way the world deals with things. And what can make a difference is if you choose to not to do things that the world chooses to do. And not all Christians are going to be able to do the same things. But each one will have a different kind of influence on the people in the world. And it will all be based upon friendship and getting rid of the need to control people. That doesn't mean you don't have the capacity to speak your mind. Everybody has the capacity to speak your mind, but just like the song goes with Supertramp, um, you're right, you're bloody well right, you have your right to say, but me, I don't care anyway. And so people are going to choose to be ignorant of other people's say. And as I said, if you come out and you say the stuff you believe in is complete hogwash, then you're not going to make it with them anyhow. And since those people, the evolutionists, all those people are already fighting us, I don't have any reason to believe the stuff that they believe is true either. And even if it is true, I don't really have any interest in it whatsoever because they are hell-bent on proving I'm wrong.